Hi, this is Cluskey. Out on the Sussex Downs again, walking. You know I love walking. Have I convinced you to walk yet? Guitars, guitars, guitars. This is a 4-part series on guitars. Demo was the guy who instigated this, wrote to me and asked, why don't I do in-depth on guitars? And this is the second part. Makes of guitars. Makes and actions. Yeah, makes and actions he wanted. And I touched on it in the first of the series. If you want to see the first of the series, just go onto the Make Hits, the playlist, and you'll find it there. In fact, you'll find, I think we're up to 54 or 55 in this series, 56 maybe, 57. And you'll see there's an absolute mountain of fantastic information, tips, all sorts that will really help your career. So makes and actions. Well, each make of guitar has its particular action, which we, the guitar playing people, and I'm sure you, we prefer various guitars. If you buy your son or your daughter or a friend's kids a guitar and you go in, you pay £30 in a guitar shop for a guitar, well, you'll find that the action will be absolutely rubbish. Usually a bit high, so it's hard to press down on the strings, and usually not very what we call accurate. In other words, and I'll demonstrate this actually, you'll see me demonstrate this. So if you play the open string and you use a tuner to E, say, and then you play the harmonic of E, they should register the same on the tuner. Now if you play the top E, that's under where the harmonic is, that should again register the same on the tuner. Now the very, very good guitars, the Gibsons and the Martins, will be supremely accurate, and that means that the actions are good and the actions are true, what you call true. So what I'm really getting at is the fact that the immense cost of a Martin, new Martins can go up to £3,500, £4,000, £6,000. I saw one, a 1929 Martin, for sale for £29,995. Well, I would have to say it probably sounds like rubbish. That's for collectors. But I've got a beautiful Martin, which my brother keeps actually. We have quite a store of stuff. The guitars that I keep in my studio are specifically for studio use. If you go to, say, Gibson, there will be a slightly different feel to the action, because Martin, generally speaking, don't lacquer the backs of the neck, whereas Gibson do. They may possibly do guitars without lacquers on, and that gives a certain different tactile feel. I personally like the feel of the Martin, where the wood is on your hand rather than the lacquer. People think that maybe the lacquer is faster, but I've never been what I call an idly-fiddly guitar player, a fast guitar player. I've never believed in it. I've always gone for feel and for composition, you know, thinking and melodic playing. That's the way. That's what I'm known for. The other guitars that are around in the acoustic field, they're all lacquered mostly. I don't think I've ever seen one with an unlacquered neck. Now, the top of the neck, you can usually, with a good guitar, you can specify the type of wood you want on the neck. I like the feel of a Martin neck because they're mostly ebony. And it's a hard wood and it's lovely, the tactile feel is lovely. Well, then again, you may like Takamine, you may like Yamaha. There are various Taylor guitars are lovely. There are various guitars, but you find that mainly the top players will stick to Gibson and Martin for acoustic guitars. I certainly do. There are only 2 electric guitars, and that's Fender and Gibson Les Paul particularly. Gibson are legendary, again for that tactile feel. Yes, the Les Paul is lacquered underneath, as I'll show you, but the top is not lacquered. A Fender is lacquered on the top. Now some people like that, but for vibbing, particularly vibbing, the tactile feel of the wood, the ebony wood, and then the ivory insets. The ivory insets are really there so that when you're vibbing you don't wear out the wood so much. The actions are to suit really, and here I would suggest you may possibly want to learn about actions, micromatic bridges for instance, to make the tuning absolutely accurate, as I spoke earlier on about the harmonics. The micromatic bridge, I'll do a close-up of that, you can actually adjust that. But I would suggest do what I do, and that's bring it to somebody that you trust. Here in Eastbourne we've got a wonderful guy in the Arndale Centre, and I bring my guitars to him. I'm very lucky that John Brown from Fender, he comes down, takes my Fender away, and they absolutely go through it with a fine-tooth comb and give it back to me absolutely stunningly perfect. And that is a blessing, and thank you Fender for doing that to me. That's lovely. So there we are, as regards the actions. And then actions are again to do with strings, and we get onto strings in about the third part of this. So actions, I would find a luthier, L-U-T-H-I-E-R, put it into Google and find a luthier near you. You may have to travel a little bit to get to a good one. Speak to him, talk to him, tell him what type of playing you do. Are you in a band? Are you just at home enjoying yourself? Is it rock and roll stuff you play? Is it folk stuff? Is it fingerstyle? What is it? And then he will tailor that action to you, and the difference will be stunning. So there we are, makes of guitars and actions. I hope I covered it. If I haven't covered what you want me to cover, please, please, please put a note down below or send me a direct email. I don't mind which. People seem to prefer a direct email. So send me an email, ask me a question, I certainly will answer it. And then perhaps I'll cover it in a 4 minutes with Deck. So this is Deck Cluskey, again, almost in the dark, out on the Eastbourne Downs. See you next week. Bye.